Weekend insights here at 1 Degree Outside Weather Network. Meteorologist Matt Noyes. We will have some updates for you, of course, over the weekend. But in terms of the deep dive, looking at the next several days, want to get you started out with the weekend and then head into next week as well. We have several storms that are ahead over the next several days. Saturday night, it's going to be all about precipitation amounts. Storm track will determine how much falls from the sky. Most of us are going to be cold enough for snow. Tuesday night, there's another one coming. That one's going to be about a rain-snow line because that storm track is going to carry some warm air with it. And then next weekend also probably is going to be about a rain-snow line. So, yeah, you've got multiple ones lined up here, even just when you look out through the next week or so. We've been well underway on Patreon. A lot of you have been signing up for the Inside Track in particular because you get access to our podcast, our live streams, and we will have a live stream for you heading into the upcoming weekend as well. We'll tell you more about that for our Patreon members. 1 Degree Outside enthusiasts will be getting the snow sports maps, but if you want to find out more about it, patreon.com/1 degree outside. All right, let's get into the jet stream setup here. And, you know, right now, you got a very fast flow of the jet stream. And one of the things that we talked about, Danielle did the Insights video yesterday. I'd written a post to go with that and really kind of dove into the jet stream pattern and how it sets up for the upcoming month and why we're expecting snow to come. It's going to be a fast jet stream pattern. So what that means is the storms all keep moving. You don't have ones that linger for the most part unless you get somewhere along the way a stronger one that can develop. So you head into the upcoming weekend. Here comes the storm. And again, this really at this point, what you start to see is a little bit of a rise northward in the jet stream. This is going to allow for some warm air to come north. So a lot of these storms are being driven by warm air riding north. When you think about it, that really is what makes storms in the first place, right? The collision of warm and cold air. In this case, you get the cold in between the storms, you get the warmth to ride north. But one of the things we talked about in that Insights post yesterday, and if you haven't seen it yet, I would encourage you to go to 1degreeoutside.com and check out the Thursday Insights so you can find out more about the jet stream pattern, because one of the things we talked about is when you have fast air coming over the Northeast and the Eastern United States, that tends to encourage rising air. Rising air makes storms. So when you see what we call a jet streak, a faster area of the jet stream that comes over us, that kind of puts your antenna up. And that's why I say, look, as you go into Tuesday night, into early Wednesday of next week, there's one opening there, another one as we make our way into Wednesday night, Thursday of next week, another one as we get into next week. And again, all of this kind of as the jet stream speed picks up, that causes the air aloft to kind of rush away and causes that favorable storm growth environment. So what you get when you put all of that together is if you go out over the next 2 weeks, and this is just one representation of how much snow may fall, but one of the things we mentioned in our podcast for our 1 Degree Outside Inside Track members on Patreon is that we believe in this because the average out of over 100 different solutions in the next 2 weeks brings about 18 inches of fresh snow to Boston. And that's exactly what you see laid out here. If you line it up with the legend at the top, even higher amounts when you get to parts of northern New England and northern New York State. This is a winter snow sports enthusiast's dream come true, particularly when you look at central and northern New England. But for snow lovers in southern New England, you will not be left out. Again, it's going to be a matter of each of these storms, like the one today that dives across to the east and really doesn't dip down low and pick up a ton of Gulf of Mexico moisture. You get some, but mostly these things race on by. What that means is you've got to catch them at the right time. So we've had a lot of people asking, do you think this will be like the winter of 2015 where we got that record amount of seasonal snow packed into less than 2 months? And the answer is probably not. It would be a Goldilocks situation to have that happen because in a situation like this, the storms are moving so quickly that you have to get them right at the right time as they're strengthening, and you have to get them as they kind of reach their peak intensity in order to do what we did in 2015. And the chances of that happening are not that high. Similarly, you're going to bring some warm air with some of these, so there will be some rain that gets involved with some of them depending upon the storm as well. As for this weekend, here we go. We head out through the course of Saturday, and the day itself is dry. Once you get to Saturday evening, the snow starts to spread in. We're thinking generally a 7 to 10 p.m. beginning time frame in a lot of southern New England. This is the map perhaps we get in toward 9 o'clock. Notice later when you get from Route 16 running into Maine, but you'll be into it during the course of the very late evening, and by midnight, most of us are into the snow. Definitely the heaviest of this one's going to be in central and southern New England. But the farther north you go, it's cold enough that it's a fluffier snow, so it actually does add up pretty good, and some of you may still be able to squeeze out half a foot out of it, which we'll look at here in just a moment. Sunday morning still coming down pretty good. The storm already, though, off to the east, which means once you get past about 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, you've shut a lot of the more intense stuff down. even if you get some light snow or snow showers that may linger into the early and mid-afternoon, I think you'll find a great improvement as we start getting out to the midday period onward. And then you get a break that comes in on Monday, but what's this talk about next week in multiple storms? Take a look. As we get into Tuesday, we start to find the precipitation building to the south. Remember I told you this one, it's going to be about a rain-snow line, so here comes some of the warmth. It does look like a lot of New England probably stays on the snow side of that, but if we turn an onshore wind, that changes the dynamic just a little bit for folks along the coastline, so we'll keep a close eye out toward the middle of next week. How much snow are you getting out of the weekend system? Admittedly, it just came over land within the last 24 hours, so we're just starting to get better data involved, so there may be some changes needed to the forecast, but generally speaking, you can see the deep blue lines up to a 6 to 8 inch snow. We think that's generally the case across a lot of southern New England. Again, central to southern New England, kind of in the same boat here. It's just a matter of you get a little bit more precipitation the farther south you go, but it may be a little bit heavier, wetter consistency to the snow. The farther north that we go, we're talking about a big broad area of 4 to 6 with some areas of 6 to 8 that show up in here as well. And again, that's because you get a little fluffier snow and there is less moisture to be had the farther north you go through the state of Maine. When you look at the temperature profile, you say, this seems like it might be marginal. I mean, Saturday's high temperatures do come above the melting point in a lot of the southern half of New England. Yes, but the air is dry enough that as we add moisture, the temperature will cool. So as you go into Saturday night, it's a 20-something degree snow for a lot of us in the southern half of New England. There's that colder air for the fluffier snow the farther north that you go, so less moisture still equates to an almost similar amount of snow. Sunday, we talked about the fact that it snows pretty good in the morning, but by the time you get to 10, a lot of the intensity is shut down. You may find right at the coastline with a northerly wind, some snow showers, even some ocean enhancement from the South Shore down to the Cape lingering into the earlier middle afternoon. They may not totally shut down until 2 or 3 p.m. in some spots. And then Sunday night, fresh snowpack on the ground, down goes the temperature, dropping down to the single digits or around 10 degrees, depending on where you are. Monday, again, that break in the action. It's not like you're really warming up. You're coming to about 32 degrees or so, and then by Tuesday, again, getting ready for the next system to come in. I think it's a similar setup where you've got marginal air that's going to be dry enough. It will cool as the snow comes in. We'll just watch near the coastline. You can stay on top of all the changes and track them together with us. That would be our free Noyes 1 Degree Outside weather app on the App Store and Google Play. Search it. You'll find it. Our videos all show up at the top, but you can also get the data right for your hometown. Of course, updates, as I mentioned, through the course of the weekend at onedegreeoutside.com and atop the app. We'll see you again later on.